Hey everybody, this is Jason from LeanBodyMovement.com, and today is an awesome day for an interview. And you know what I needed to do for a long time? I've needed to do an interview on nutrition with a nutrition expert that deals exclusively with digging into a lot of the evidence and a lot of the stuff on nutrition, because you already know that there's so many different methods out there and so many different quote-unquote magic bullet programs. And the thing I like about who I'm interviewing today, and I'll mention that in a second, is he's really just going back to the basics. And he's done a really good job at kind of just laying things out in very layman's terms and kind of, once again, going back to the basics. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Nick Pino. And he is up in Canada because there's a lot of amazing fitness professionals up in Canada. And Nick, you recently moved, right? Can you tell us where you moved from?
Oh yeah, I used to live about 2 hours from Montreal to the east, and now
Okay.
I'm in Montreal, the big city. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So now we know where you're from. Well, now your new home, anyways. He actually also just got back from a vacation, so he's been doing quite a bit of traveling, which is always a good thing to hear about, and he's doing a lot of continued work while he's on vacation, so that just tells you how dedicated he is. So he's got a new system, it's more like just his personal lifestyle, and that is called The Truth About Fat-Burning Foods. And once again, I call it a lifestyle because that's just how you've done things, and you've found nutrition very, very, the basics especially, very fascinating, and also not to mention all the current issues that we North Americans are facing right now. And so if you don't mind, Nick, before we get into the truth about fat-burning foods and some of the secrets that a lot of people don't know about, and I probably will learn a lot about, why don't you go and tell us a little bit about your story, how you got in the fitness industry, all that stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, Jason. First, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And to all the readers out there, the funny thing is that I get asked all the time with the success we've had with Truth About Fat-Burning Foods. In a couple of weeks, we've sold over 10,000. So I get quite a bit of emails, and they're like, "Oh, hey Nick, what are your credentials?" Right? And they picture me maybe in this office with the official diplomas in nicely presented frames on my office door. I don't know, but the thing is, I don't have any certification. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a personal trainer. I don't have any of these official credentials. I actually have a bachelor's degree in communication, so I really come from a place where I'm interested in trying to understand what information is good and what information is not, and it's misleading because there's a lot of information out there. I've heard a statistic just yesterday. Now in 2 minutes, the humankind creates as much information as we used to create from the beginning of time to until 2003. So that's just to tell you how much information is out there, and it's created every 2 minutes. So this information, part of it is marketing messages, and part of it is the truth and how we should really live our lives. So what happened a couple of years ago, about 7 years ago, I got really interested in my own health, trying to actually increase muscle mass. And everyone has their personal journey. I've been a small guy all my life, pretty lean naturally, so I don't have the fat problems that a lot of people have, fat storage. But for me, that was a problem. I wanted to get in shape, wanted to get bigger and healthier at the same time. So anyway, I realized that maybe I wasn't eating the right way, and the only formal education in the way we should eat I had was pretty much the education everyone has these days, which is TV, mass media, some stuff on the internet we read, but basically just bribes of information here and there about okay, we should drink more milk because it says so on the TV, and we should eat that. This product says it's healthy on the label, so probably it's good. So anyway, I didn't have a clue of what I was doing. That's what I realized. And after watching a couple of documentaries, I highly recommend, like Food Matters or Food Inc., even some the documentary. That's it. I can't believe forget the name, but it's that one about the guy who eats McDonald's for months. So it's a bit sensational in its format, but it gets the point across that basically, okay, we don't know anything about how to eat properly through the media. So anyway, that's where my communication background comes in. I'm like, okay, I can figure this out. I've spent quite a few years studying journalism and all this investigative part of me, and I'm really passionate about information. And it turns out I became passionate about health and fitness and basically about food. So decided for Truth About Fat Burning Foods is basically I summed up everything I could get my hands on in the last 7 years, but especially in the last year that I've spent on this, working on the project with Jen, my fiance and business partner. So Jen and I just took all the information we could get our hands on, decided to format it in a way that's really friendly, and basically came to some conclusions about certain foods. So I'm sure I'll get in this interview more chance to talk about some discoveries I've made. But I didn't do the studies myself, just tried to sum up all the information that's out there, basically.
Cool. Well, that's really awesome. You know why I think that's really awesome is because you come from a point of a lot of the people that are listening, a lot of the listeners. And when you think about it, we hardly see things that come from, it's all essentially from the listener or from the consumer, as in you, because you've been really in the trenches just like everyone else, like I have, before I got into the industry and for that matter. And you're answering a lot of questions that come from just everyday people that want to, the best information to benefit their health, but at the same time to not get information overload. And so that's what I see in this. And that's what I really, as I was going through the program, because I've read a lot of the Truth About Fat Burning Foods and your philosophy. That's what I think about when I go through that. In very layman's terms, it comes from, if you were to go and walk in to whatever, Whole Foods or anything, any grocery store for that matter, it's almost like you're there and you stop and you can talk to someone about from a consumer to consumer standpoint instead of a professional, quote unquote professional standpoint, because there's a lot of barriers when you get into that stuff. So that's what I like about it personally. Plus, it's your personal philosophy, your personal lifestyle. So I think it makes it that much better if you offer your lifestyle to other people that kind of experience the same type of lifestyle per se. And so that's what I love about the program itself, and that's probably why it's so insanely successful right now as we speak. So if you don't mind, let's go and dive into the Truth About Fat Burning Foods. And I know that there was a few common problems that a lot of people don't really see. And to be honest with you, I learned quite a bit when I was going through just the basic, kind of the first section of the whole manual you've got. Why don't we go through maybe a few of the common problems that a lot of people don't even think are problems?
I could probably. I have hundreds of examples coming to mind already, but basically the first premise is that a lot of people are misled by marketing, right? I mean, in the 90s, some food products were a problem and some food products were taught as healthy. Now, these days, it's about gluten-free. So people often forget that there are a lot of people working for an industry that's called marketing. And I mean, in some sense, you and I are marketers in some sense because we do sell products. So anyone selling product that has that must convince a consumer to buy something in the end is a marketer in some sense. But food marketers are there to sell products, and some companies have the righteousness to sell products that are healthy or that at least people selling it think they are healthy, but other people just don't care. Unfortunately, it's they care about money. So the first thing is that no matter how hard someone tries to convince you a product is healthy, even if it says so, it's not necessarily healthy. So that's the one thing. We think the government or the regulations protect us 100%. The thing is, it's much more complicated than that. Just to give you an example, and that's really a controversial one, olive oil. One guy, I can remember his name just reading about him. Is called the olive oil hunter, and this guy has a particularly interesting book about the falsification of olive oil in Italy, and the fact that some parts of the mafia and criminal organizations just took control of some production of olive oil because it's a good business and they make a lot of money out of it. How they make money basically is to sell either low quality oil to the United States and other countries and label it as extra virgin, which is the highest quality olive oil you can find on the market. Or even worse than that, they cut their olive oil, so they mix it with cheaper oils like safflower, sunflower, canola oil, corn oil, whatever they can get their hands on, because it's really cheap. So again, in the end, most people will jump when they hear such information like, oh, wait a minute, you're telling me I can buy olive oil and it says olive oil on the label 100%, but still it doesn't contain what it's supposed to contain. And the answer is yes. The answer is the FDA and all those regulatory agencies don't have the money or resources to open each shipment and just test everything, right? So in the end, they just rely on certain rules, and the rules can be bent. And anyway, just to tell you that a recent study in 2010 found that something like 20% can make up the exact number, but 20% of all olive oil in the United States is fake, that has been mixed with other cheaper oils. So those are the refined oils that are inflammatory, full of omega-6, and don't contain any of the nutrition you're looking for in olive oil in the first place, and that's why you're investing more money from your pocket. So from a consumer standpoint, it's really frustrating when you don't even have the guarantee that the healthy product you're trying to you're investing in your health, but in truth, you're just having this olive oil that's fake in your pantry, and I can see how that's frustrating for a lot of people. Worse than that is now we go into the quality, because olive oil, the highest quality you have, so when it's cold press, first press, organic might help, but anyway, when you got a producer that really cares about quality, you get the highest quality stuff that wasn't exposed to air or heat too much. So that means all the good compounds, the nutrients you're looking for are still in there. And oftentimes that's the extra virgin kind. The problem is the UC Davis, which is a big olive oil institute in California, researched different brands of extra virgin olive oil, and 73% of them don't pass the sensory test. They basically look at the color, the smell, the taste, all the different characteristics that make olive oil good olive oil. And the thing is that these products, so 3 products out of 4, shouldn't be labeled as extra virgin olive oil. So again, you get the extra virgin, you know it's not fake, but you don't get the quality you're looking for. So in the end, truth about fat-burning foods. So I have one page on olive oil telling you what you should look for, how to make sure it's not fake, what kind of hints you want to look for on the label to tell you that it is good quality olive oil. So a lot of people will tell me, Nick, you're I've received one email, Nick, you're going too far. Like, okay, we're going, I know, sometimes you might be reading the product and, okay, Nick is getting anal about this, like in the sense that, okay, maybe it's too much thinking about is my olive oil fake or not, but you only do it once. Once you know it and once you find a good brand, you won't spend 15 minutes thinking about it every single day. The goal of my product is to get people to take action and actually realize that even in the healthy foods, you can have deception when it comes to what you can buy at the health food store.
Awesome. And I think the olive oil example is perhaps the best one in our country, because everyone is just they associate olive oil with good, and with what you're talking about, with if you go back to mass production, right? There's a lot of flaws, and people are finally starting to catch on, and a lot of the quote unquote good stuff is really no different than a lot of the other mass produced quote unquote nutrients. So cool. So that would be probably one of the bigger examples that you really dive into. I also saw some the other common maybe conceptions, stuff like stevia, right? And you know, some of the other ones, other common. Everyone just associates them with the term good, but if you look kind of into the facts, those things are kind of misleading. And so that's what I really like about Truth About Fat Burning Foods. It's not the same thing. It's coming from a consumer himself, but someone also that is devoted, and it's actually a passion for you, right? So that's a cool thing about this. So let's go ahead and kind of the structure of the Truth About Fat Burning Foods, if you would, kind of how long and how do you take people through the program? So.
That's the one thing. When I actually released the program, it lacked some structure, and people weren't sure. Like, you can get overloaded with information, even if Truth About Fat Burning Foods is pretty simple, and it's still expensive, and it's a huge product. So anyway, I created a guide where I explain it really comes down to how well or how good you're eating at the moment. So people that are really advanced when it comes to nutrition, they already take care of the nutrition. They might be they might be interested in the information side of the product. So these people might consult the different guides, and that's where, for example, you'll find a page on beef, and you'll know how to choose the right grass-fed beef, because again, what's on the label is not necessarily what's sold. Then you're gonna find one page about potatoes. So some people have heard that they might have some toxins in there. So I researched it, and I look what the toxins are. Should you really worry? And at the end, one of my conclusions is that you should probably not eat the peel of the potatoes if you're interested in digesting them better. So anyway, you'll see everything in the book. So that's one approach. If you're listening to this, you're advanced. This product will help you. Basically, small tweaks in your diet that will just help you get to the next level. If right now you're just the kind of person that I've been that person for a long time, so there's no shame. But you've heard about all those things, but you're still buying processed foods and sometimes frozen meals and stuff like that, then you want to look at the program as a really kickstart to rehauling your entire kitchen and what's inside it. So that's why it's called the 24-hour diet makeover, because I tell people, you're going to take one day out of the weekend. So I know it's going to be painful. A lot of people don't have time for such things. They have kids, or they have a girlfriend, a boyfriend. They have a lot of stuff going on in their life. So oftentimes they don't have time to do this. So you need to block time. You need to block a whole day worth of work, but take it as if it was personal work, you're working on yourself, on your kitchen. To me, that's pretty important. So block an entire day, and then I'll outline how you're going to look at certain parts of the book, the bare minimum, and then you're going to go shop for food, because when good food is in your house, you're going to eat good food. And if people then can look at recipes online, or I've got a recipe pack that I sell separately because a lot of people have asked for it, where people get a ton of recipes for basically each meal of the day, soup, salads, and anything people can think of, where I even walk them through the recipes on video. So that's another part where I went above and beyond just to try to take someone that has never cooked in their entire life and help them cook a healthy meal, because that's another part of the equation. So the average person that just needs a kickstart for the kitchen, they take the program, they follow the guideline I have in the main book, which is basically you read part of it, you go shop, and then you end the day just with a good, tasty, healthy meal, and you're off to a good start, because then it just picks up. A lot of people have emailed me, Nick, I've cooked this last week, and then from there I've cooked, my husband has loved this, or my wife has loved this, or my friends, and then I just feel like I'm suddenly getting interested in cooking and in health. So that's basically the goal of the program, is to spark your interest. And for people looking for weight loss, because a lot of people are looking for weight loss on top of health, the good thing is, if you replace all those processed foods that you maybe that's inside your kitchen just because you don't have time or it's more convenient, when you replace them and just get better at organizing your food, you'll end up eating whole foods instead, and eating better foods because of all the recommendations I've gotten through about fiber-rich food. So in the end, all those things do stack up. And while calories do matter, the quantities of food you eat matter. The nutrients inside those foods matter a lot, too, when it comes to fat loss, optimizing your hormones, energy levels, on all sorts of levels. So in the end, doing those changes, even the slightest changes in your diet, will help you get the weight off faster in the end.
Cool. So, in other words, essentially a guide or step-by-step approach, which that's what I love, especially when in dealing with nutrition. I like to see, basic step-by-step approach. So, and it sounds like you've got some stuff for more advanced people, and as well as kind of people that are just getting started, which is always a cool thing to have a program if you feel that you're further along or if you're just getting started. So, cool. Well, Nick, is there anything else that you wanted to kind of stress about the Truth About Fat-Burning Foods and the philosophy?
Yeah, there's one thing that I need to repeat and even repeat to myself, is that when you start eating healthy, and I don't know if you experience this on your end, Jason, but for me, I used to stress a lot about my food choices. So what ends up happening, I find, is that when you eat a lot, let's call it clean food, so whole foods, healthy foods, whatever you want to call it, but you start eating clean, and then, I don't know, you have this invitation from your friends, let's go to KFC or any fast food joint, and you might be stressed about it because, KFC contains all these trans fats and all this terrible chicken or whatever, and you might become really stressed in those social events. The one thing I like to apply to my life, and I found that really helped me reduce stress and even get me healthier in some sense, both psychologically and physically, is the 90-10 rule. So the simple rule states that if you eat clean, you eat the foods you need to eat 90% of the time, you'll get 90% of the result. So, of course, if you're diabetic or have celiac disease, you can't eat only 90% of the time gluten-free. You got to be 100% gluten-free. But if you're a healthy individual without any particular condition, you can probably get away with having those occasional meals where you just have to let it go and accept that some choices will be subpar, will be second-class choices, and you know it, and you might be at KFC and choose a salad. That's your deal, but at least if you can manage your mind around the fact that, okay, look, in my house, I have all the right foods, and I'm doing this, but maybe if I'm having a drink out, I won't freak out too much about that sugary drink because everyone's enjoying one, and I might even enjoy it, and the day after, you come back home, and you're back on track. So that's really one thing I think almost everyone needs to apply in their life, to just have more flexibility. So remember that one thing Jan wrote about lately, my fiancé business partner on the blog, is about you need to fix yourself not rules. Rules are stuff that are things that put you in prison sometimes. Instead, consider them guidelines. So when you use guideline, a 90-10 rule, so 10% of the time I can steer off my diet and enjoy, I don't know, the Thursday night wings are 35 cents, whatever your deal is, but at least you'll go at the bar with your friends and actually enjoy it instead of stressing about it. That's the one lesson I think to take home. So when you read Truth About Fat-Burning Foods, a lot of people are like, oh, Nick, this is so discouraging. Just discovered that everything I have in my fridge is bad, and then I'm feeding my family with poison. I'm like, okay, you need to take this a little bit lightly. You need to just lighten up a little bit and realize, okay, this isn't going to kill me. Some people eat at McDonald's 24/7 and they can still live a pretty long life, disease-free for some lucky folks. So that won't kill you, and one portion of McDonald's won't kill you. It's all about long-term, and it's all about habits. So that's really one thing. Focus on habits, healthy habits, and remember why you're doing this. You're doing this to be more happy and not feel like you're in prison in your choices.
Right, and I think that's brilliant to bring up, because that is a huge piece. It's a simple method, but at the same time, for me personally, that rule right there that you just mentioned has been the biggest thing that has kept me on track throughout, I don't even know how many years. I think I adopted that principle back in maybe 2007, 2008, and I have seen 90%, or in my case, I call it the 80%, 20% rule, which is essentially the same thing. It's kind of unbelievable if you just view that as kind of your compass with nutrition. If someone asked you in an elevator, what is your philosophy on nutrition? At the end of the day, it's 80% or 90% of what I consume is directly, in congruence with my goals, with my health and fitness, and 20% or 10% is kind of to reward myself and to keep myself kind of motivated. So that's a great thing that you bring up, Nick. Thanks for re-mentioning that. So where can we find you, Nick? Where can we find more about kind of your philosophy and maybe your blog and kind of where you guys put out your information?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So nickpinault.com is where you want to go. I'll spell it out because it's a weird French-Canadian name. So it's N-I-C-K, Nick, and Pinault is P-I-N-E-A-U-L-T. So if you misspell it, Google will fix it for you. Don't you worry. If you want to check out my product, I'm sure Jason will have a link nearby the interview to check it out.
Yeah, I'll actually go ahead and put that right below this interview for everybody out there that's listening for your convenience. And once again, Nick, I really appreciate the call today. It's been an awesome time. Like I said, I've adopted a few of the principles in the Truth About Fat-Burning Foods, and I will be surprised if I don't adopt every one of them in the near future as I take myself through the program. So once again, thanks for all the awesome techniques that you have kind of offered to everybody out there. So once again, I think over 10,000 people have been affected by this program.
Yeah, so far we've got about 13,000 people now. If I check the number, something like that's incredible. The response has been amazing. So hopefully more people will get on board. And it's really about helping people realize how important this is. And thanks again for having me, Jason. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So once again, the link is right below for everybody out there. You can hop on over and check it out and kind of follow Nick over there. Everybody at Lean Body Movement can do that. And once again, thanks to Nick for his just chatting it up today with me and having a great interview. I'm going to sign off, everybody. This is Jason with leanbodymovement.com, and we will talk to everybody very soon. Thank you.